Hey YouTube, how you all going? Just thought I'd do a video update on the Spartan race. Spartan Sprint, the first Spartan Sprint held in Sydney. Second Spartan race held in Australia overall. The first one was the Spartan Sprint down in Melbourne 2 weeks back. So it was really good to get out there. It was very tough competition. For the Melbourne event, a few guys from Sydney went down, and for our event up here in Sydney, a whole heap of Melbourne guys came up as well. So pretty much who's who of obstacle racing in Australia was there. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way you want it. You want to race against the top guys and top girls for that matter, and really push yourself. Obviously, kind of on my part, 7 kilometres probably not my preferred distance, but I like giving these things a crack anyway. They're really good just for to getting to know Spartan Race, really, seeing as it's the first one that I've had a chance to participate in. It was also the first event for me for the Obstacle Course Racing League. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's essentially a league that's been set up here in Australia, and eventually they're going to have one in America as well, I believe. And you can race at various races throughout the country and earn points, and then at the end of the year, someone's deemed an obstacle racing champion of Australia. This is in addition to the Spartan Point Series, so Spartan's just one of the races that falls under the league, and then there's a whole heap of other ones, the Beach Bash, Tough Bloke Challenge, etc. I also have individual categories, so they'll have like a sprint champion, middle distance kind of champion, and a long or endurance champion, I believe, and obviously an overall champion as well. So lots of opportunities there. Onto the race itself, 7 kilometres, around 15 odd obstacles, and I was in the elite wave, first wave of the day, and the pace was just ridiculously fast from the outset. Matt Murphy, who won the one in Melbourne, also won the one in Sydney yesterday. He pretty much goes out there to try and break everyone in the first 3 kilometres. I was speaking to him after the race, and his theory, or I guess strategy, is that if you can break someone early on in the race, it's very unlikely they'll be able to get back to you. So for those of you who watch cycling, I'm a cycling fan, Tour de France, they always talk about the rubber band, and once the rubber band breaks between two riders, it ain't coming back together. So that's Matt's strategy, and it obviously works for these shorter events. To start with, there was a short run to the first water obstacle, and someone kind of fell on top of me as we were going down this steep embankment. I just felt this crack in my neck, but luckily it was alright, just a bit stiff today. Across the water, and then first hill. There was plenty of hills out there today, just a shortish one to begin with, but even that early on, more people were kind of hiking rather than trying to run. I think we all knew, even at that early stage, that it was going to be a tough race. It wasn't really, they had, standard obstacles. There was a rope climb up like a 75-degree wall, mud ditches in and out that were quite deep, and I didn't count how many there were, but there were more than normal. But the first real kind of obstacle that started to separate people and dish out some burpees was the balance beams. Now, balance beams for me are like a weak point, but at that stage in the race, I kind of knew that if I was going to cop burpees here, I was going to be falling a fair way back, and would have to really dig deep to pull myself back towards the front of the queue. So just took my time, got across that successfully, which was really good, and then it was just onto more running from that point forward. I think the toughest obstacles kind of the day were definitely the rope climb. That came directly after the spear throw, so unfortunately for me and anyone else who missed on the spear throw, you had to do your 30 burpees, tax your upper body like no tomorrow, and then climb a rope. So I'm sure that Spartan strategically placed it that way to make it as tough as possible, but luckily I did make it to the top of the rope, so I didn't cop any more burpees, and in fact the spear throw was the only obstacle that I missed on the day, so it wasn't too bad all round. The other really tough, challenging obstacles out there were the sandbag carry. In most obstacle races in Australia, when you're carrying something heavy, it's like a max 200 metre kind of walk. This was a sandbag carry up, around, across and down the side of one of the bigger hills on the property. Not sure exactly how long I would have been carrying the thing. I should probably check on my Garmin, because I was wearing my Garmin 310 XT throughout the event to get all the data. But it was a long, hard slog. And then on top of that, the other major difference, the barbed wire crawls. You know, I'm used to seeing events here in Australia anyway. You have a barbed wire crawl, maybe it's 40 metres, something like that max. These ones just seem to go on forever. And because we were the first wave of the day, they still hadn't really watered them down a whole heap. Like, I went back and took some photos afterwards and some video, and it was a lot muddier later on in the day. So when we were kind of rolling over them, it was more rocks and rubble, and really kind of cut a few people up. There's quite a few actually, like bloodied and bruised bodies at the end of the day, and normally you're not used to seeing that so much at other events. But yeah, it certainly made it feel tougher. There was a lot of natural obstacles as well. Coming into the last kind of barbed wire crawl, there was, I wouldn't know the distance, but probably about a 7-8 minute duration of walking through, or trudging through, trying to run just a swampy, marshy, water pond filled ditch that kind of roped around the back of the hill that we'd previously gone up and down with the sandbag carry. So that kind of slowed you down in the last bit. And the thing with those kind of obstacles is you want to run, and you physically can run, but you can't see the bottom of the water, and you try to run and all of a sudden you're into a deep hole, or you trip on a branch or tread funny on a rock, and you know, sometimes you kind of have to go slower just so you don't injure yourself. At the end of the day, I was really happy with my result. I got 17th in the Obstacle Course Racing League, and overall I was 37th. Obviously throughout the day, a few other people who run in the open waves, you know, if they lead from the outset, they can put in a pretty good time themselves. So happy to get my first Spartan medal. You know, it was a good event overall. I really enjoyed it. You can definitely see that Spartan kind of want to dish out the pain just with the longer kind of barbed wire crawl, as I said, the sandbag carry, having burpees as well, no doubt. Helps a bit with that as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed the event. Happy with my finishing time. It was, can't remember exactly, around the 55-minute mark. I mean, it's really hard. Like, I've been training quite a bit, obviously more towards endurance stuff, but I have been doing some sprint work, and it's really hard to compare, obviously, one race to another to see how much you've really improved. But I guess the way I look at it was that yesterday in the first heat, the competition was a lot tougher than normal. We had a lot of people, as I said, from Melbourne, and pretty much anyone in obstacle racing wanted to be there. So I came 17th out of like that select group of people. Whereas if I'd gone, for example, to the Raw Challenge, which I did back in January, I think it was, you know, it was just the local guys, and I kind of came 13th there. It wasn't my best result, but you know, if you take 13th versus 17th in a much more, I guess, competitive field, wasn't too bad. But yeah, I really kind of I'm really looking forward to their longer events. I want to see how I can stack up. I don't think the Beast is really, I don't think the Super maybe will be quite as good for me. I might have to wait for the Beast or the Ultra Beast to really kind of move up a little bit, because I do think I could probably crack, I'd like to hope I could crack the top 10 on one of those longer runs, just because I always find in the last couple of kilometres I do start to come back into it. So that's for another day though. Lots of other things to keep going with in the meantime. As I said, glad to get the medal. Just have to wait and see what the race calendar's like for the rest of the year. If we can get the trifecta, it would be nice, but it's obviously dependent on other commitments, money, World's Toughest Mudder, other races, etc. So thanks again, guys. Check out some of the videos I posted, just a few snippets of the various obstacles so you can show your friends what it's all about. And as always, please rate, comment, and subscribe.